Welcome to Chapter 3. We will cover the most fundamental and important concept in chemistry, quantitative calculations involving substances and chemical reactions. We will start with the mole concept, followed by the formula mass and molar mass. These are indispensable tools for chemists to quantify substances by the number of particles they contain. After discussing methods for molecular formula determination, we will cover chemical reactions and stoichiometry, which is one of the most important topics in general chemistry. Calculations you will see in this chapter are not different than calculations you are familiar with. For example, calculating the number of eggs in 4 dozens of eggs, or calculating the dozen count of some number of pencils are direct one-step calculations. These calculations use the definition of dozen to make the necessary conversions. We will be calculating the number of atoms in a sample using a similar calculation. In another example, the number of sheets in a stack of papers is calculated using the unit mass of a sheet. This method is called counting by weighing, and it is how chemists determine the count of atoms and molecules in a sample. When we count a large number of things, we often use units such as the dozen. The chemist's dozen is the mole, which refers to a particular number of things. The mole is the measure of the amount of substance, or a particle such as an atom, molecule, or electron. 1 mole of anything is 6.02 times 10 to 23 particles of that something. This is known as the Avogadro's number. It's a collective number, just like a dozen. Thus, the term mole is referred to as the chemist's dozen. This makes working with large quantities of atoms much more manageable in chemistry calculations. Avogadro's number is defined as the number of atoms contained in 12 grams of carbon-12. Based on recent measurements, this number is used in 3 significance as 6.02 times 10 to 23. The units for number of moles is mole, and it is abbreviated by lowercase n. In your own experiences, ordinary quantities of these common substances may seem to take up a small physical space. However, in 1 mole of each sample, there is an uncountable number of particles. Avogadro's number is an enormous number. It is 600,000 times larger than the number of sand grains in all the beaches of the world. If there were 1 mole of sand, it would cover the land in the world to a depth of 60 centimeters. If you could take the helium atoms in this balloon and line them up, they would wrap around the Earth, around the equator, 1 million circles. Avogadro's number relates the number of moles to the number of particles. It is useful to remember it as a unit equation so you can set up dimensional analysis. Here, the given quantity is the 2 moles of carbon. As always, make a conceptual plan. This is a sequence of calculations that start with the given quantity and end with the asked quantity. The unit equation that does the conversion can be shown on the direction of the conversion. In this calculation, we start with the 2 moles of carbon. Thus, the unit mole is in the denominator of the conversion factor, and atoms is in the numerator. The values come from the unit equation. 1 mole is equal to 6.02 times 10 to the 23 particles. The mole units cancel, and the answer is calculated in the desired unit of atoms. Do not forget to check the magnitude of your answer to see if it is reasonable. Generally, the number of particles is a very large number, expressed with a large positive power of 10 in scientific notation, and the number of moles is usually less than 10. Let's see 2 examples. To calculate the number of atoms, starting with the number of moles, Placing the unit mole in the denominator and atoms in the numerator ensures that the conversion factor is correctly set up. After the values are placed, the mole units will cancel and the answer is calculated. In the opposite conversion, calculation of the number of moles start with the number of atoms. Placing the unit atoms in the denominator and mole in the numerator ensures that the conversion factor is correctly set up to cancel the starting unit.